Getting into the charts right now, this is the 15-minute time frame on ES futures. I'm going to show you how I use those 4 P's we were talking about to take this $1,065 trade on Friday the 8th of May. So breaking things down, let's first go through our first process. So our first process we had was, if you remember, let's go back to here, was positioning. Right, so how do you position yourself as a trader? Right, so positioning is very important because we are now going to use the four-step positioning process. So always remember what we had here. This was our 4-step positioning process right here. Okay, so what we're looking at is structure, targeted liquidity, equilibrium, and price imbalance. So if we look at this right now, let's actually break it down. So on Friday, we actually had the move from here to here. So what we're looking at now, so if I just get rid of this, let's break this down. So on Friday, I had my key level over here. So the question is, how did I find that key level? So I'm really going to break this down so that traders can understand it. So the 4-step process has, as the name suggests, 4 steps, right? So we look at structure, we look at targeted liquidity, we then look for an equilibrium, right? And then we look for a price imbalance. And so this is what we call the 4-step positioning process. Okay, let's start with market structure. So how do we actually define market structure? So I've got my market structure defined on the screen already, right? So hopefully you can all see this is pretty self-explanatory. This is like the basics of trading, right? So structure high, structure low, structure high, structure low. You know, for me, this was my high on Thursday and this was my low, right, going into Friday. So when we look at this, you know, in this way, what we want to try and understand is, you know, we want to follow this. We want to follow the checklist exactly. So if you're missing one of the 4 concepts or you haven't applied them correctly, then you're setting yourself up to lose, right? Very important. A couple of things with structure to understand is you want to look for these sharp moves up and these sharp moves down, right? Sharp move down, sharp move up, right? Sharp move down, sharp move up. So every move should be a V or an inverted V. Right, and each pullback has to have at least 2 candles, right? At least 2 candles, at least 2 candles. This is also important to identify. So once you've gone through structure, right, you can put a tick through that. So now we've done structure. Now we want to understand targeted liquidity. Now targeted liquidity is a fancy way of saying where is the most recent low and where is the most recent high. We're only interested in those 2 specific liquidity areas, right? Those are the targeted liquidity areas. So what we look for is on Friday going into the session, this was our targeted high and this was our targeted low. So these are the only 2 structural points we're interested in. All right, so that's a relatively simple one to understand. Now after S, we move on to T. Right, after T, sorry, we move on to E. So E stands for equilibrium. So what you want to do is once you've got your targeted liquidity, you simply want to project the fib, right, from the low or from the high, sorry, down to the low. Or if you like, same thing, right, you can project it from the swing low up to the swing high. And so what this E stands for is this is the equilibrium. Right, this 50% here is the equilibrium. So for those who trade any kind of concept, this is maybe similar to ICT or smart money concepts. It is basically premium and discount. Now this is why this trade is a little bit more complex, but it shouldn't be too complex. I'm going to break it down. The next thing you're looking for is the price